Alright, what it be, what it do, it's your boy, Skinny Penis, and today we're gonna be back with another cooking tutorial video. And today we'll be cooking the tteokbokki, the taduki, tteokbokki. Alright, so first off, we're gonna start off with an onion and a carrot. Don't mind the other carrot because I'm not gonna be using it. But first thing you need to do is you need to cut up the carrot and cut up the onion. Obviously, you need to make sure to peel the carrot and peel the onions. So what I did was I cut the onions in like moon shaped, and it may look big now, but you don't have to worry about it later because it'll start to shrink and caramelize in the pan. Oh, and you can also see Vivian in the background. I was FaceTiming her while making this. She was kind of helping me along the way. She was telling me how to cut the onions, and it hurts me to admit that I got help from her, but I gotta do what I gotta do. It's all about that transparency. All right, so now that you're done cutting the onions, make sure you separate them so you don't want them in the big clumps that the layers. Make sure you separate them all into their own single layers so that you can put them out into the pan. They can all start their own cooking process. So as you can see right here, I turned the pan up to around medium low heat. You could also do medium high to high. It doesn't really matter since the most important part in the end is you need to get everything cooked, but also at the same time you need to worry about boiling the water so that the tteokbokki broth thing can be like really smooth and like more of a thick consistency than really fluid and liquidy. Alright, so in this clip, you can see that I'm cutting the carrot that I peeled. I'm only going to be using one carrot earlier. I know I showed two carrots in the clip before, but I realized it's going to be a lot. Alright, so now that you have all your vegetables cut up, you need to heat up some sesame oil in the pan that you preheated earlier. And what you want to do is you want to put the carrots in first because carrots take a longer time to cook than onions do. And so what we're gonna try to do with this process is we're gonna try to get everything like a little bit cooked so that when we put in the seasonings earlier, they won't be undercooked, especially the carrots.
Wow.
As you can see in this clip, I have let the carrots cook for a while, and I'm now adding the onions so that they can cook together. After you add your after you add your onions in, I recommend adding sugar because sugar helps onions caramelize, and it'll give in the end the flavor will come out more, if that sounds right. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be stirring everything around so that all the sugar and all the oil gets distributed properly. But for the most part, I'm just stirring around because I have nothing else to do, and I'm just waiting for it to cook. Honestly. Alright, so for this clip, I'm adding 4 cups of water according to the recipe. And basically, after these 4 cups of water, I'm going to be using chicken broth powder because I don't have any anchovy stock, which is what you're supposed to be using. But so on the chicken broth powder thingy, you're supposed to use 1 tablespoon per cup, but honestly, I feel like it'll be too salty and overpowering, so I only use around like 2.5 tablespoons, etc., etc. You'll see that coming up soon. Okay, so this is where I had the most trouble. I was just gonna cut it into rectangles. These are fish cakes, by the way. I was gonna put them into my tteokbokki, but so Vivian convinced me to cut them into triangles, but they weren't fully thawed yet. So it was like cutting into ice, and it was really stressful. I'm not gonna lie, it was like cutting into bricks. But I ended up cutting them into triangles later on because they thawed out really quickly. Not gonna lie, it was like only like 3 minutes later, and I was able to cut them into triangles. I forgot to record this part, but I put in around 2 heaping tablespoons of gochujang, the Korean pepper paste, and I think it was actually no, it was two and a half heaping tablespoons. So that's why it's red now. I'm stirring it. Turns out I forgot to record again, but so if we're fast forwarding ahead, I added around 3 tablespoons, I think, of the red pepper flakes, and then in this clip I'm adding the rice cakes now. I basically added around like 3/4 of an entire bag. So in this clip I added more sugar because I prefer my tteokbokki sweet, and it also helps with the thickness. Oh, and I added around 3 tablespoons, I think, but don't take my word on it. It could have been two. Just try two first if you're gonna do this recipe. So halfway through this, decided to crank up the heat because I realized that I needed the liquid to boil faster and I needed it to thicken. This is when I added my fish cakes. You want to add your fish cakes later on because they can get really soggy and they cook really fast. For the most part, what you want to do after you added all your ingredients is you want to let it simmer, stirring occasionally to make sure nothing burns at the bottom. But what we're trying to reach for at this point is for the sauce to thicken up and for the rice cakes to absorb the sauce. So fast forward about 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Um, if you think you have the perfect consistency, the best way to try is to take a spoon and you just dip it in, and then it should kind of like be clean. And there you have it. Your tteokbokki is done. Just plate it. You can add some cheese, which is what I did right here. The cheese didn't melt fully yet, as you can see. I just took it right out of the refrigerator, but you could put it right into the pan. Honestly, I think cheese with tteokbokki goes really well. But yeah, this is the recipe I tried out. It went really well. And as you can see, it is freaking delicious.